Hey guys, welcome back to the Freedom Homestead Kitchen. I'm Tangi and today I am canning tomato sauce. And you're thinking, wait a minute, it's January. How are you canning tomatoes? Well, quite simply, I am a lazy gardener. So basically, in the summer, whenever the tomatoes are coming in full swing and my schedule is slammed and I don't have time to can everything that comes in as it comes in, I very simply wash the tomatoes. I let them air dry, or I pat them dry with a towel or a paper towel. I throw them in a grocery bag, and I actually double bag the grocery bags, and then I throw the tomatoes whole, double bagged in grocery sacks, in my deep freeze. Now, whether anybody else does that or not, like that, I don't know. I know people freeze their tomatoes, but I don't know if they put them in grocery bags like I do. But that's what I did. And so I just took out the remainder tomatoes, or okay. So I took out the tomatoes, and I know I look rough, but it's a working day. So I took out the tomatoes last night. I put them in shallow dishes right here. And I covered them in plastic, then I covered them with a towel so they will slowly thaw. Some of these are still frozen, and it's 11:45 the next day. So what I've been doing, let me turn you around and show you. It's a mess. I am a messy canner. Like, there's stuff everywhere, but just bear with me here. Okay, so there is the remaining tomatoes. I've put some in my food processor. So I'll show you what I'm doing, and then I will show you as I do this last little bit. So, okay, so I take my whole tomatoes. The only thing that's been taken off is the green tops, but everything else is completely whole, tops and all, skin and all. And so what I do is I take them from here, I put them right into my food processor. I break them down. I just turn it on, let it spin for about a minute until it's all nice and mushy. Then I've been putting it in this strainer. I would love to have one of the cone-shaped ones. I can't remember what it's called, but I don't have that. I just have this, so I make it work. So I put the pulp and everything in here. I'm using a wooden spoon, and I stir it down. And then when this fills up, then I'm pouring it into this huge stock pot. As you can see, it is pretty full, but look how this is not as liquidy as it would be if you were using fresh tomatoes. And the reason why that is because as it thaws, it loses a lot of its juice. So you don't have as liquidy of tomato juice as you would if it were fresh. Then with the pulp, I am putting, this is what's left after I mash it all down through the mesh strainer. This is actually going to go in my food dehydrator, and I'm going to turn it into tomato powder, which tomato powder is a thickening agent for tomato-based products. So you can see it's still rendering a lot of water, and that's because, like I said, some of the tomatoes are still kind of icy. And so it's still kind of melting, which is fine. I'm just going to strain it again. Once I'm done with my mesh strainer, I'll dump all of this into that and just let it sit until it's a lot more dry. Then I'll put it in my food dehydrator. So you might be wondering what kind of tomatoes these are. I grew several different varieties, which I'll throw an iCard up in the corner from our garden this year. But I grew San Marzanos, which are some of the ones that are in here. I've got some Roma tomatoes. There was some black Vernissage tomatoes, which are the little black one, or the little dark ones with the stripes. And yeah, just throwing them all in there, processing them all. And I'm gonna spin this last one, then we're gonna get it going, and yeah, then we'll come right back. All I'm doing is I'm taking this mesh strainer and I'm just using my spoon to kind of push that pulp through. And the goal is to leave behind the skin and the seeds. So as you can see, as I'm working this, this is reducing down and it's getting more solid. And down here at the bottom, I've got juice and pulp. So I'm just gonna keep doing that until it doesn't look like I'm getting any more out of this here. Down to the end here, I'm just taking my spoon and I'm scraping the pulp off the bottom. I'm gonna pour this in with the rest of my tomato sauce. My future tomato, oh, I just dropped a big glob on my toe. That's great. Okay, so this looks like a ton of tomato sauce, but it's very liquidy and I like for my tomato sauce to be thick, like a pizza sauce. So this is going to have to reduce down probably by half. So I'm still going to get several pints, but not as much. This looks like tomato soup. I don't want tomato soup, I want tomato sauce. So I'm gonna turn this on to medium heat. And we're just gonna let this slowly evaporate and get thick. And I'll just come by every so often and stir it. This can also be done in the slow cooker if you want to. I've done that before. But today I'm just gonna do it on the stovetop. In the meantime, I'm going to take all of this beautiful pulp. I'm gonna put it back in this mesh strainer and I'm gonna weight it down to make sure I get as much liquid off as possible. And then look at, and then pull out the dehydrator and start dehydrating it. Okay, so this has already been simmering for about 25 minutes. I just turned the heat down a little bit, but this is going to have to reduce quite a bit to get to the texture that I want. Okay, it has been almost an hour since it started boiling. So it's still not as thick. Okay, so this is just to show that it is really important to have patience during this process because we are coming up on 3 hours of simmering. So still not where I want it. I'm just gonna keep cooking it down until it gets perfect. So hang tight. Okay, we are past the 4-hour mark. And it's still not quite where I want it, but we are really close. So I'm going to say probably in the next hour, this is going to be right where I want it. Okay, we are just about ready to can. I've got my jars in the oven to sanitize. This has been cooking now for coming up on 6 hours, and you can see it has really, really reduced. You hear the Fundamental Homes live stream going on in the background. And over here, I've got my funnel, my lids. Let's see, so funnel, my lids, my bands, my magnetic wand, my debubbler. So everything that's going to be touching my stuff is in here.
A blush, and then a contour and highlight kit. Thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much. Yes, we will be checking with the internet provider. It was. Sorry. I don't know if the weather has anything to do with it, but anyway.
If you don't watch the Fundamental Home, I'm going to throw their iCard over here. You should check them out. Okay, so here we go. Here's what you're going to need. You're going to need your tomato sauce. You're going to need some lemon juice. And you're going to need some pickling salt, and I'm also going to add a little bit of sugar to each can. I know my hair's gonna drive me crazy, but this has been a 6-hour day, 6-hour process. Okay, actually longer. I've been doing tomatoes. I've been doing tomatoes all day. I'm kind of to the point where I don't really care what my hair looks like. So I have my water bubbling, but it's not boiling. Okay friends, to each individual pint, you're going to add a half a teaspoon of sugar and a half a teaspoon of pickling salt. And then I'm going to go ahead and start adding in my tomato sauce. And the reason why I'm going to do that, you know that I have some lemon juice to add to it. I have added the lemon juice before to my hot jars and cracked the jars. So I'm kind of tempering the glass by adding the hot tomato sauce first. And then here in a second, you're going to see I'm going to add a tablespoon of lemon juice. Then I'm going to fill the jar the rest of the way back up with tomato sauce and then use my debubbler to stir it and get the sugar, the salt, and the lemon juice all incorporated through the tomato sauce. So that's just how I choose to do it. Now I'm going to wipe the lip of my jar with a paper towel that's been dampened with a little bit of white vinegar. This is just to make sure that there's nothing on the lip that can keep from getting a good seal with my lids. Okay, so that's what I got at the end of the day. 4 beautiful pints of organic tomato sauce that I grew in my garden. I know exactly what's in there, and I can't wait to use it. Let's check on our dehydrated tomato pulp. All right, let's see. This feels done. Oh, no, that's still gummy. Still got some thick parts that aren't quite done, but that's what it looks like. And then this will go in our NutriBullet and get ground into powder. Good morning, guys. It is the next day. Woo! And I'm just going through here. I'm taking the bands off of my jars. You want to take your bands off of your jars when you can, because one of the signs of spoilage is that your lids become loose. So that's one thing I like to check to make sure that my bands or that my seals have sealed, is I pick the jar up by the lid, and that just shows that it is good and tight. And so now I'm just going to label it and put it in my pantry. Okay, and this is how much tomato powder I got out of all that pulp. So almost a pint. But yeah, this can be used for thickening sauces and stews. You can just mix it with a little bit of water, make a tomato paste. So I actually didn't get it ground as fine as I have when I do the tomato skins, but that's okay. I think it'll still work just as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it helpful. If there's anything I can help you with when it comes to canning, my knowledge is very limited, but I would be happy to help in any way I can. So just leave your questions in the comment section below. Let me know, do you make tomato powder and how do you use it? I'll link a video up in the iCard section where I actually made pizza flavored popcorn using tomato powder. But yeah, so do you make tomato powder? Do you make green powder with your greens from your garden? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as part of our family. And that's all. I hope you guys have a great day. Until next time. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by Freedom Homestead. Here we're about living off the land, being together as a family. We homeschool our 2 children. We talk to you about our gardening adventures, how we preserve our own food and build our food storage. We live on a tight budget, and we share with you our grocery hauls. I will even break out the cleaners and show you how I clean my house. So whether we're sharing with you our life, our love of liberty, or our love for each other, thanks so much for stopping by, and please consider subscribing.